9 in a row. The Texans hope to keep their win streak alive today. It's a battle of the young quarterbacks, Baker Mayfield versus Deshaun Watson. Houston is coming off a record day in the run game, rushing for 281 yards, the most in franchise history. Lamar Miller's 97-yard touchdown run happened here less than a week ago. It's the longest run in franchise history. And J.J. Watt was named AFC Defensive Player of the Week after his 99th career game, where he recorded 9 tackles, 1.5 sacks, 2 quarterback hits, and 1 tackle for loss. What do the Texans need to do to make it 9 straight and get a win against Cleveland today? We'll get into those top stories and answer your fan questions with John Harris. Texans Unlimited, presented by Verizon, starts now. Welcome into Texans Unlimited, presented by Verizon. It's Week 13. It's the Color Rush game. It's my cause, Mike leads, and the Texans hope to keep that win streak alive. It's 8, hopefully going on 9 after they face the Cleveland Browns today. Deshaun Watson and the offense have seemed to have found their rhythm, but Bill O'Brien's not getting too excited about anything yet after an 0-3 start. He's pumping the brakes on the excitement level, saying it's one game at a time. That's what this locker room is focused on. But back to Deshaun Watson and this offense. They have balanced the ball nicely between the run game and the passing game. Deshaun's gotten into a rhythm of his own. He's passed for 11 touchdowns and just 2 interceptions in the last 5 games. Well, today, he's going to be without wide receiver Keke QT. He was questionable heading into today's game with a hamstring. He is inactive, as is Vincent Smith. So that means DeAndre Carter is going to step in for Keke. And Demaryius Thomas is coming off his biggest game as a Texan, 2 touchdown catches after last week's win against the Tennessee Titans. And J.J. Watt in the defense had a 6-sack game against the Titans in that Monday night game. They hope to keep that streak alive. It's J.J. Watt's 100th career game. Christian Covington also had a breakout day, 2.5 sacks last week. Well, Deshaun Watson and that offense, they've gotten a lot of help from the run game. Lamar Miller, Alfred Blue, and company. And the run game is going to be a big factor in today's game for both teams, for the Cleveland Browns and for the Houston Texans. And with more on that, here's Drew Doherty from inside the Texans tunnel. Drew?
DP on Monday Night Football, Lamar Miller and the Texans gained 280-plus yards on the ground. Now, across the way, the Cleveland Browns today, their running backs, Nick Chubb and Duke Johnson, averaging about 5.4, 5.5 yards a carry. Texans defense got to clamp down on that if they want to have success against this Cleveland team that's been resurgent, especially in the last 2 weeks. So, run game versus run game, that's one thing to watch in this matchup against Cleveland and Houston. We'll kick it back inside to you so you can take it away.
Thanks, Drew, and welcome back to Texans Unlimited, presented by Verizon. Joining me now, my good friend John Harris. Johnny, I was on the Cleveland pregame show earlier, and I said I really wanted this to be a primetime game because Baker Mayfield, Deshaun Watson, both teams really hot right now. What do you think about today's matchup?
Well, it's interesting to look around the crowd. I was just doing it as I was standing here. You see kind of the Deshaun Watson effect. Remember when we go play anywhere on the East Coast, and you look around, you see like Clemson orange. Now, you'll see a lot of orange today because of the Browns fans, but you see a lot of Oklahoma crimson throughout. I mean, you see a couple of you Sooner fans here, see one in the stands here next to J.J. Watt jersey. It's very interesting that the bleeding over of college to NFL, because you didn't for a long time see that, but now you're seeing colleges almost like, yeah, Baker's ours because he went to Oklahoma. Deshaun's ours because he went to Clemson. So you can really see that throughout the crowd. So looking forward to this one. I think in due time, I think if the powers that be at NBC or the NFL would have thought that Baker would have been the guy at this point of the year, they probably would have thought about making it prime time, but I think they're probably pretty happy with what they have tonight with Chargers-Steelers. So we're back to playing a noon game. How about this? It's the first time we've played a noon actual 12 o'clock game.
At home?
Well, just 12 o'clock game. Just a 12 o'clock game since we played the Bills. Since we played the Bills, that's the last time that we played a 12 o'clock game.
Well, Washington was like 1 p.m. I guess we were East Coast.
Yeah, but we were East Coast, yeah. So this is literally a noon game. So
last time we were,
I mean, technicalities, those kind of things. But
it was noon in Houston, but I get your point,
you get my
Johnny.
point. They got to come out of the gates hot. I mean, this is kind of a morning lunch kick. We got to get going and get out of the gates hot. We did not against Tennessee. got into it as the game wore on, but we got to get out of the gates fast because these guys get up on you. They can run the football, and you'll have to chase them all day, and that's not a good thing.
Yeah, a lot of things to look for in this Browns game, but let's get to some of your fan questions. Jonathan says, will we see more from the tight ends today?
I would think so. Without Kiki QT, I would absolutely think so. And that's always, I don't want to say the ace in the pocket of Bill O'Brien, but it's always there. And if you look at the inactive list, both Kiki is inactive and also Vincent Smith. So you've only got 4 wide receivers. So at that point, because you only got 4 wide receivers active, then I would imagine you're going to run a lot of 12 personnel, meaning 1 back, 2 tight ends. And you might even see 22 personnel with 2 backs and with Alfred and Lamar in a game with 2 tight ends as well to make sure that Deshaun ends up being protected. So I think you're going to see a lot from the tight ends today. And it's interesting, over this weekend in particular, and as I've watched film all year, one of the concepts I've seen throughout college and the NFL is the use of the tight end. And a lot of block, 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 go run a route, and those guys are wide open. I wouldn't be surprised to see both teams try and do that today to try and get their tight ends open, get them loose in the secondary, because that can end up being big plays for both sides.
I saw Jordan Thomas catching some passes here early in pregame, and it's exciting to see what he can do, and it'd be nice to see him catch another touchdown from the tight ends today. All right, Terry says, is J.J. Watt a full go for today? Now, J.J. was limited in practice with a knee. Obviously, the vets are not practicing a lot during the week, but then he was questionable heading into today's game. Nobody seemed too concerned about it, but should we be concerned? Are we going to see a limited J.J. Watt today?
Potentially, and I think that's why getting out of the gates fast in this one is huge, because if you can do that, then you don't have to use J.J. every single play. I mean, the nice, honestly, the luxury you have, but because you have Whitney Merciless and you have J.J. Watt, they can play the outside. You also have Brent Scarlett who can play the outside too. So there's some things you can do on the outside. And on the inside, you've got Heath, you've got Reeder, you've got Covington. Not Heath, you've got Dunn, Reeder, and Covington. Guys that can play on the inside too. So you've got some depth there that JJ doesn't have to play every single play. You could give him a rest throughout the game. But how much is bothering him, he'll never let you know. But, look, I don't want to think past Cleveland or whatever, but the one next week is huge. So if you can get a lead and you can then spell him throughout the game such that he can come back next Sunday and be ready to go against the Colts, that's massive.
I mean, sometimes we'd seen that anyway on long drives with the defense. You see JJ come out, you see Clowney come in. You see a lot of substitutions to keep those guys fresh. At least you have the ability to do that with guys like Clowney and all the depth they have here.
Yeah, no doubt. And because with JD, you can move JD inside, you can play him outside, you can play him inside linebacker. Because you can move JD all over the place, you still can provide issues for the offense because of how you can line up. So we'll see how they go about doing it. I think what's weird to me, DP, is just seeing him questionable on an injury report. That kind of caught me, I was like, whoa, we've never seen that. Because when he got injured, he just went straight to IR. But now he's on there, and it's kind of shocking to see. So hopefully it doesn't result in anything more than just being on the injury report and he'll be okay. But I noticed on Monday night, in front of me, he was kind of pacing back and forth. So I don't know if that was just to keep his legs warm, keep the knee from locking up or being an issue. I don't know. But I just kept seeing him pace in front of me, and I thought, man, he's caged animal. He just wants to get going. But it might have had to do with the knee. Who knows? We'll see what happens today and how long he's able to go. Hopefully he'll be able to impact the game as much as he always does.
Yeah, actually, I saw him on the bike sort of warming up in between plays, too. That's a good point to bring up. All right, Daniel's got the $1 million question. How can the Texans slow down Baker Mayfield? Now, he's a rookie facing a pretty veteran Texans defense, a wily one led by Romeo Crennel, but what's the key going to be?
Well, I think it's a combination of rushing coverage. I mean, I think you've got to bring rushes from different angles. That really impacted Marcus Mariota the other day. You've also got to show Baker something that he's never seen before, just to see how he's going to react to that. But the biggest thing is, as with Marcus, as with Case Keenum, as with Alex Smith, you got to make him throw from the well and then close the well down. They've got a guy at left tackle, and Greg Robinson hasn't played a ton of left tackle, and he has not had a ton of success. And there have been times in which Greg has given up what looks like pressure, and Baker gets rid of the ball because he can move around in the pocket because everybody else is protected. So they've really got to change up the looks up front for the offensive line. Maybe they blow up protection. You get a hit on Baker. Who knows what that can mean? He's only been hit 4 times the entire month of November. Now, he's also faced Atlanta, Kansas City, and Cincinnati, no better than 26th in the league in total defense, and no better than 28th in the league in pass defense. In fact, Cincinnati and Kansas City are 31st and 32nd. So he's going to see a different look today no matter what, just from the personnel he's going to see and just from the unit of the Texans. So I think that's the biggest key. Show him some different looks. When he gets out of the pocket, treat him like a running back. pop him a little bit, see how he handles the physical stuff, and whether that can get in his head a little bit, being a rookie, trying to make up for things like that. So I'm sure he can maintain his calm and his presence, and that's something he does pretty well, but you got to try and shake him up a little bit.
All right, Johnny, we didn't mention this, but Dylan Cole obviously is back on the active roster. We'll see him in action today, and going against Nick Chubb and what these Browns offense has to offer, where do you see Dylan really stepping in, and is he going to be a full go?
Well, I think he will be a full go. I mean, he won't start, obviously, because of Zach and BMAC, but what you can do with Dylan is put him on the field to cover backs out of the backfield. I think that's one of the biggest things. Now, in practice, he had been practicing with a black cast on his hand, like a bulb cast on his hand. So I don't know what it'll look like today. That obviously impacts tackling, but he's so fast and so quick that at least in coverage, if he's nearby, he can knock passes down, those kind of things. But that's where he's really valuable because how fast he is. And in fact, right over here last year, he made one heck of a pick covering Duke Johnson down the sideline. So from that perspective, it's good to just have him back, his speed, his explosiveness, and just the versatility. You bring him into the game, what does it mean? Is he blitzing? Is he dropping? Is he covering? What's he doing? I think that's where he really becomes an X factor for this defense down the stretch.
All right, Johnny, I'm going to get into your keys to the game, but first let's get into some of our fan shout-outs. Dennis in Washington, D.C., Jim from Fort Polk, Louisiana, Juan in El Salvador, Alex in Cancun, Mexico, B from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, Ivan from Finger Lakes, New York, Marissa in Medicine Lodge, Kansas. Wow, we got our shout-outs are getting broader and broader every week. Keep those coming in. All right, Johnny, final thoughts for today's game. I know the Texans want to make it 9 straight. We all want to see 9 straight, especially here at home. What do you think they need to do today?
Well, I think for the defensive side of the ball, I think it's to provide those looks to Baker, show him some different stuff, and you see how he reacts to it. But the biggest thing to me is tackling Nick Chubb. They've got to be able to tackle Nick Chubb all day because Chubb's a horse. I mean, he is a physical presence, as much as anybody we've seen. Now, we've held good running backs in check, but we got to do that. Offensively, I think it is to get the tight ends involved, but continue to move the line of scrimmage. If you move the line of scrimmage, you got an opportunity to run past, do what you want. But Myles Garrett is the key. You can't allow him to wreck the game. And against good rushers this year, they've really used a team concept, and that's going to be key. And I think that's why you see 3 tight ends today, and that's why you'll see them. And the 2 backs. There'll be a lot going on that side to help out Julian against Myles Garrett.
Love what the Texans are able to do with the run game in the last few weeks. I think they need to keep that going, obviously. They've got a nice balance between Deshaun not passing the ball too much, Lamar not running the ball too much, Alfred not running, but everybody's sort of working together, and everyone's numbers are going up as a result. Johnny, thanks as always. We can hear you on the sideline, Sports Radio 610, during the game broadcast. And then, of course, check out HoustonTexans.com. We're going to have highlights, stories, press conferences, and more after the game. All right, that's going to do it for us. For Jay behind the camera, Tyler on the field, Tyler in the studio, and John Harris, I'm DP Sidhu. Thanks so much for watching, and go Texans.